17-year-old Kobe Bryant was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets in 1996. He was then quickly traded to the Los Angeles Lakers 5 days later as part of a prearranged deal. A few months later, at the age of 18 years and 72 days, he became the youngest player to ever play an NBA game. Kobe continued to play for the Lakers for the rest of his 20-year career. Over that period, he became known by a nickname he'd bestowed upon himself, the Black Mamba. When Kobe started using hashtag Mamba Mentality on Twitter, it was just for fun. He'd hoped it'd be memorable too, but soon he'd realize it meant much more than that. The Mamba Mentality encompasses a mindset that doesn't just focus solely on achieving a goal. Instead, it looks at the whole process of getting there, the journey, to the extent that it becomes, well, as Kobe said himself, a way of life. In November 2015, Kobe announced that he would retire at the end of the season. In his final game against the Utah Jazz in April 2016, he scored 60 points. 23 of those were in the fourth quarter, giving the Lakers a 5-point win. In 2020, though, Kobe tragically died along with his 13-year-old daughter Gianna, 6 family friends, and the pilot, when their helicopter crashed into the side of a mountain in heavy fog, just 30 miles from the center of Los Angeles. But his legacy continues to live on. In this blink to Kobe Bryant's Mamba Mentality, we'll look at how the NBA's third highest scorer of all time prepared himself both mentally and physically for his games. We'll also see how he studied his opponents and mastered his craft, worked through his injuries, and led his team to victory. Preparation. Even when he was a kid, Kobe wanted to be the best. He didn't need outside motivators. He had an intrinsic desire to improve himself. He also showed no fear. So, if he wanted to incorporate a new move into his game, he wouldn't hesitate. Even if it meant looking inept or feeling embarrassed, the important thing was to try. And when he got it right, well, that was just another skill in his pocket. And Kobe's physical training regime was the stuff legends are made of. During the main part of his basketball career, he was lifting weights for 90 minutes 4 times per week. And when he said lifting weights, he meant hard, heavy, can't feel your arms lifting. Earlier in his career, he understood that time management was key, both to balancing his basketball life as well as his family life. If he started his first gym session at 5 a.m., he'd manage to get 3 sessions in every day, but still always be there when his kids got up and again to put them to bed. He didn't want to sacrifice any time with his family or the game, so he gave up his sleep. When it came to pre-match preparation, Kobe listened to his body and varied his routine depending on what he felt he needed to do. Sometimes that would mean shooting jumpers, other times that would mean meditation or stretching, and if he felt he needed to rest, it was a good indication that he should take a power nap. It's important to prepare mentally before a game too. Kobe's advice? Again, listen to how you're feeling. You need to get your head in the right place. So when Kobe needed to get keyed up for a game, he listened to energizing music. If he needed to feel soothed, it had to be the music he listened to on the school bus when he was a kid. And if he wanted to feel calm, he wouldn't listen to any music at all. Kobe also trained his mind regularly by reading, practicing, working, and focusing totally on his daily tasks. By doing so, he found that his mind wandered less and that he was more present in each moment. He believed that cultivating relationships is essential for preparation. We all need mentors we can look up to. In Kobe's case, it meant basketball greats like Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jerry West. Kobe's curiosity and passion meant he'd ask questions regardless of who he was with. Sometimes he was ignored, and that didn't bother him. He was eager to learn from those willing to share their knowledge. Kobe relished talking to Magic Johnson, for example. It was always a special opportunity to pick his brains and learn from one of the game's greats. Over the years, Kobe faced many opponents. He studied them all in detail before playing against them. In the next section, we'll take a look at some of these players and how Kobe adapted his game specifically when playing against them. Knowing your competition. Kobe studied a lot of game videos of his opponents. He never wanted to step out onto a court not knowing what he was facing, so this was a big part of his preparation. For example, when it came to Allen Iverson, he learned that he needed to get the timing right. Allen would begin attacking somewhere between the 10-minute and 8-minute mark. Kobe studied his attack patterns and did everything he could to throw him off his game during those periods, including bumping him and denying him the ball. When Allen was in a passive phase, Kobe would allow him to catch the ball. This would make Allen more assertive. But as a result, he'd fall right into the Lakers' trap defense, and Allen would just get more and more frustrated. Kobe learned that when Allen had the ball, he needed to jam him up and stop him from gaining momentum and scoring. With players like Carmelo Anthony, on the other hand, it all came down to positioning. He'd check the angles of a pass and work out where Carmelo could throw the ball next. He'd use his left arm to discourage that. Then he'd use his right hand, which was out of sight, to clamp Carmelo's arm down. When a pass came, that would allow Kobe to steal the ball. Kobe observed that Chris Paul played his best when he was going to the right, even though he could also go to the left. So Kobe would use his left hand as a defense to let Chris know that if he tried to go right, he'd be able to steal the ball. Kobe also had height and arm reach advantage. This meant he was able to cut off Chris's angles and contest any shot he went for. But Kobe didn't just study his opponents, he also studied himself. By doing so, he was able to change his own game so that he had no holes. He made it very difficult for other players to defend him, even if they played with or against him for years. He analyzed his own game and turned his weaknesses and flaws into strengths. Finally, it's worth noting that Kobe made a point of developing relationships with referees. There was a mutual respect between him and many of them. So when he talked back to the ref or had a problem with another player, he found that his words held more weight. He knew the job of referee was difficult and often underestimated. So he made a point of always treating referees well. He has no doubt that this helped him throughout his career. Also, reading the referee's handbook enabled him to understand their role and limitations. For instance, he realized due to their positioning during play that there would be what he calls dead zones, areas which the referee couldn't see certain things. In those areas, Kobe could get away with minor rule violations, such as holds and travels. In the next section, we'll look at Kobe's coping mechanism in the face of injury. Persistence and adaptation. It's Game 2 of the 2000 NBA Finals, and Kobe has just sprained his ankle. Badly. He plays on it in spite of the injury, adapting his game, figuring out how he can maintain control and continue dominating. He misses the next game, but then plays the rest of the series, helping the Lakers secure the championship. After the series, Kobe looked for something that might help him strengthen his ankle, and he found it. In an unlikely activity for a basketball player, tap dancing. He hired a dance instructor and worked on his ankle, not only building up strength, but also improving his footwork. The work he put in that summer helped him for the remainder of his career. Although Kobe suffered many injuries throughout his 20-season career, he never complained nor doubted his abilities. Instead, he always stayed positive and thought about what he could do to get his fitness back to 100%. And if an injury happened mid-game, he'd ask himself if it was just painful or if it would get worse through the game. If it was only painful, he'd deal with it every time and play on, adjusting his game accordingly. But in 2013, in a game against the Warriors, Kobe suffered an injury that meant he had to come off the court. In fact, he even needed surgery because he'd torn his Achilles tendon. At the time, there was talk as to whether he'd ever recover well enough to play again. But after undergoing a new surgical procedure the very next day, he was determined not to let the injury finish his career. In his own words, he decided he had to climb that mountain. Earlier in his career, when he injured his finger in the 2009-2010 season, Kobe had to adapt his shooting technique. Before the injury, he used to shoot off his first two fingers. He had to change that to only use his middle finger. It took practice and hard work, both physical and mental, with Kobe making 1,000 shots per day. Did the change in technique affect his shooting performance? Kobe couldn't really tell. In the end, what matters was that he still went on to win another championship. Kobe's injuries demonstrate that when he had setbacks, he believed that he first needed to examine the extent of the problem and then adapt accordingly. And on the road to recovery, he sought out innovative solutions or adapted his style to eliminate the weaknesses his injuries had caused. In the next and final section, we'll look at how Kobe led his team to greatness. Leadership. Kobe was an inspirational leader to his team. His style of leadership may have made them feel uncomfortable at times, but that led to introspection and then to improvement. He dared people to be their best selves. He adapted his approach for each person on his team, observing how they played, what their history was, and what they wanted to achieve. He even found out where they had doubts and insecurities. With that knowledge under his belt, he could work with each player to bring out their best selves. Kobe was first put in charge of triangle offense by Tex Winter at the start of the Lakers' first championship run. He might have been young, but he was a team leader. As a result of his youth, the more experienced team members sometimes complained, but Kobe didn't let that bother him. He'd been put in charge by the great Tex Winter, after all. And soon, his teammates fell into place. All it took was for them to understand Kobe's motivation and what he wanted to do with the team. Later in his career, Kobe was particularly tough on three of his younger teammates: D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Clarkson, and Larry Nance Jr. But a few years later, he could see that his motivational style had really paid off. They'd taken his guidance and teachings to heart. When Jordan Clarkson joined the Cleveland Cavaliers, he even wore Kobe's jersey number. As the leader of the team, Kobe often had to size up against the leader of the opposing team, like Kevin Garnett, for instance. This long-armed athlete commanded a large part of the court. Sometimes Kobe got the upper hand, other times Kevin did. But Kobe never backed down from a challenge. Kobe had joined the Lakers at the tender age of 17. But because he worked so hard and was so dedicated to getting the Lakers back to its championship winning ways, he was quickly accepted. He truly felt that the Lakers were a family and that he had been welcomed as a part of that family from day one. Nowadays, it isn't just elite college or NBA players who find the Mamba Mentality mindset inspiring. CEOs of Fortune 500 companies also embrace it. Whenever someone used the hashtag Mamba Mentality, Kobe believed it to be very significant. For him, it made the sweat and hard work and the 3 a.m. wake-ups worthwhile. In fact, it's why he wrote the Mamba Mentality in the first place. He wanted others to learn lessons that could be applied both to basketball and in life. Now, choosing to adopt the Mamba Mentality is up to you. Whether it's to excel in basketball, business, or your life in general, the ball is firmly in your court.